Hey, what's going on, y'all? Ali Brathwaite here.
And Arlene Brathwaite.
And if this is your first time tuning into our podcast, then welcome.
Welcome.
I did a 21-year prison bid, and my wife, Arlene, did the time with me. Now, we all know that long-distance relationships aren't easy, period. But when you add a maximum security facility and limited contact, it's sad to say that not many relationships can flourish in those conditions.
Absolutely. And we know that many families are struggling to keep ties with their loved ones, and it's hard when they're trying to do it alone. So our podcast is geared toward giving families the support they need to maintain their relationships with their loved ones.
So with that said, we have a very special guest on our show today. Her name is Niroma, and we met her at our bookstore at one of our comedy shows. She was one of the comedians, and man, she is funny.
Yeah, she's hilarious.
I mean, with the way she keeps people laughing, you would never in a million years guess that she's dealing with a pain that is indescribable. Her only son is serving time in prison, 25 years to life. Many people don't know what that feels like, but unfortunately, Arlene does firsthand.
Yes, my story doesn't start and end with Ali going to prison doing 21 years and then coming home. I'm still doing prison time because my only son is doing time. How ironic is it that when Ali is on the verge of coming home, my son, my only son, was going in? That was devastating to me. You know, my whole world was crushed. And I didn't know how to rebound from that. And I still kind of am in that space a little bit. You know, no matter how much I talk to him, no matter how much if I visit him when I can, because now we're miles upon miles away from each other. So, you know, like I said, it's devastating to lose a child to prison versus losing a husband to prison.
So let us continue this conversation with Niroma because we have her on the line. Niroma, you there?
Yes, how y'all doing? I miss y'all.
Hey, we miss you too.
What's going on? Long time no see, huh?
I know, all the way back from the book club. I miss y'all. I miss that book club. Oh, we had so much fun in there with the poetry, spoken word, comedy.
Yes, and you were one of the comedians, right?
One of the originals.
And one of the more funnier ones, if I might add.
Niroma,
a.k.a. Sweet Chocolate. Yeah.
Yes.
So, you know, for those who don't know, we had a book club. We had a bookstore in New York called the Book Club. And we used to have shows there like R&B, open mic nights. And we were also known for our comedy shows. And Niroma, a.k.a. Sweet Chocolate, was one of the comedians that was there. And that's how we came into contact with her. And that's how we became close friends with her. So unfortunately, we're not here to talk about the good old days back then when we, everything was funny. Because although she kept us laughing and she seemed like she was always happy, Niroma, like a lot of us, have been suffering in silence, and we've been dealing with a pain that has been indescribable. Of course, we don't want too much information because this isn't what this show is about. We don't want to know what your son did. If you feel comfortable giving the time, that's cool. If not, that's okay, because that's not what the show is about. It's basically about you and how you're dealing with the situation and maintaining your relationship with him in prison. But could you walk us through the initial shock when you first found out that your son was going to do time? You know, as a mother, what was going through your mind?
Okay, so what happened is when I got the phone call, one of his friends called me because I didn't go to the last court hearing. I was coming back and forth down to his court appearances, but I didn't go to the last one, and they called me and told me he had 25 to life. So my heart dropped, and I went straight into denial. And from there, I started eating compulsively to not feel the pain, because the pain was so deep. Because he's a mama's boy and my only son, and I just couldn't believe it. Didn't want to believe it. To speak up, I was even trying to tell his lawyer what he should be saying, because I took a rule in school, in college, and it wasn't working, and the judge wanted to give him more time than the DA wanted to give him 20 years, and the judge gave him the max.
All right, so let's get back to your mental state. You said that when you found out initially how much time your son had to do that, one of your coping mechanisms was, to start eating and stuff like that, which is something that's a common coping mechanism for a lot of us when we go under stress. Mm-hmm. So at that time when you were going through it, did you think that you had to go see someone?
No, because I stayed in denial for a while. So I was like on shutdown mode, depressed, and I wouldn't even talk about it. So, because it was so sensitive to my heart and my emotions. And after realizing that I was overeating and it was causing me health issues, I wind up going for therapy. I'm still in therapy to this day. And I had the surgery, and I lost some of the weight and learning how to deal with it. But I have my moments.
When did your son get locked up? What year? Because to let the listeners know that the pain never goes away.
I'm trying to think. He's been there 8 years now.
Okay. That's good.
Okay, so 2012. Around 2012,
right, exactly.
2011.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, like Arlene says, here it is 8 years later, and you're still feeling the pain. Mm-hmm. So it's not something that goes away. And then you also said that you were in denial. Explain that to us. What do you mean by you were in denial?
Okay, that I wouldn't allow myself to accept the fact that my son has 25 to life. That he might not be coming home. And I always keep that hope. And to this day, I keep that hope. And I tell him to stay in prayer. But at the time, I wouldn't even want to deal with it. And every time it came up, I would eat.
And believe it or not, denial is one of the main things that, parents go through when their children are going through this type of ordeal where they don't want to accept the fact that they are not coming home. So was there ever a doubt in your mind that you weren't going to do the time with him?
No, there was no doubt, because I know I had to see my son, I have my daughter that has gone through it too, but because they were close. Mm-hmm. And so she used to call me crying, and, then it'd get me to eating, because I didn't call her and express to her or nobody how I felt and how painful it was, because it was so painful, I couldn't even talk about it. So I know I'm getting better because I'm talking to you all about it.
Were there family members who, when your son got sentenced, that they contacted you or reached out to you and said, hey, if you want to talk, I'm here to talk? No,
only my daughter. There's no one that asked me that. They wasn't supportive in that. Maybe they didn't know how to be or didn't want to be. Maybe they was angry at him, or whatever the case may be. No, I didn't have that.
And it didn't happen with me as well. And I believe at the time I was hurt behind it, but now I believe that, again, if they don't have something in common, like they didn't experience that loss, so people don't sometimes know how to approach you on it, And I know for myself back then, I probably didn't want to talk about it, because like you said, your mental state of mind is really not good when a tragedy hits home like that, especially your child. right? So yeah, I believe that it may have been people that wanted to, but they didn't know how to approach me on it.
Right. I know they didn't know how to approach me because I was like, they know how I was by my son, and don't come out the side and get that and say the wrong thing because I'm not dealing with it. And so I made it hard if somebody wanted to reach out. I made it hard for them, and I know that.
But you said there was a time when you started seeing someone. What was it, a therapist or something like that?
Yes, I wound up going to see a therapist because that pain led to the overeating and it led to the overweight. And so I see a therapist, a dietitian, and I had the surgery, and I learned. And through all that, it's a process. I'm coming out of denial about my son being incarcerated for all this time. I'm coming into acceptance, and so when you come into acceptance, you're ready to talk about it. It's still painful, but you learn how to deal with it, handle it in a healthy manner instead of harming yourself or others.
How much do you think the therapy helped you?
It helps me a lot, and this is therapy in itself. Talking to you or about it. So there's all types of therapy. Mm-hmm. I see that on a personal level for my eating and emotions and past pain. And then talking about this situation itself, this big issue with people who understand and can identify helps on another level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that's basically what I was leading up to, was that a lot of times when we talk about, people should go see a therapist, some people kind of frown down on it because they're like, oh, I don't want to go talk to this stranger. I don't know who this person is, or I don't have the money to go do it, or they may think if I go to this therapist that I might be crazy or something like that. But none of that is true. You need somebody. I would say it's mandatory that if you go through a traumatic situation like this, such as you went through, such as like Arlene went through, that you do need someone to talk with. And if it's not a therapist, like you said, it could be a close family member. It could be what you're doing right now. But what you're doing, what all of these, different avenues have in common is that you're not bottling up your emotions on what you're feeling about the situation, that you're in a situation or an environment that you can speak about it, that you can talk about it. And the more you talk about it, the greater you be able to deal with the situation, the more clearer you can see reality and see what it is that you really have to do as far as, how you're going to do this time with your son and stuff like that. So it's definitely important to be able to find someone. If it's not a therapist, family member, close friend, neighbor, a priest, reverend, whoever it is, that you feel confident enough to be able to talk to them about your situation and about your feelings and get it out, as opposed to having it bottled in.
And this is even better because it's people who've been through it. So even when you go to a therapist, sometimes everything doesn't help the healing process because they haven't walked in the shoes. So like Arlene and you can understand even better, give better suggestions and everything because you've been there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, and I tell people all the time that as going through this prison journey, as doing this time, that how important it is to connect with people that are going through the same pain, the same journey, just to support each other. You know what I mean? Because we can relate, so yes. you have someone that you're actually getting help from to help you get stronger in your journey because they're doing it. So we're not just talking about it. We live that life. You're living that life. So, of course, we can relate on that level. And so we have to support each other during this journey to help us get through.
That's why I appreciate this. I appreciate it. And I'm here to support you both.
And we're the same. You know, this is, for me and Ali, this is what we want to do. This is our calling, to be there to help people get through this journey, this very dark time in their life. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us and others.
Exactly. And like you said in the beginning, not only is this therapy for you, but I know for a fact that there's going to be somebody who's going to listen to this podcast that is going through the same exact thing you're going through. Mm-hmm. And they're going to feel your pain, and they're going to have the strength to say, you know what? If Niroma can do it, if she can pull herself out of that rut, I can do it as well.
Absolutely.
And just by hearing your story, it's going to give them that strength to either reach out to us or reach out to someone else and say, I need to talk. Definitely appreciate you for that. What's the hardest part about doing time with your son?
The hardest part is when I go to visit or I can't get to visit him, and knowing that he's probably feeling disappointed because I couldn't make it for apparent reason what happened. And then going there, and then, oh boy, then it's painful right now to leave him there. So I'm getting in touch with my painful feelings right now that I don't even talk about much. But leaving him there. And I know I'm leaving him in the lion's den, but after I feel the pain, I start praying and asking God to protect him.
Yeah, for me, the pain is undescribable when you have to go for the visit. For me, for myself, I'm hyped to get on that visit. When I sit down, I kiss him and I hug him. And then, it's good for about an hour and a half. And then I can't, find myself, my whole mood changing because I know I gotta leave him. I know I can barely stay there more than an hour because the pain inside is just eating at me because I know I have no control in this situation. They treat them like animals. They can't get too close to you. They can't walk you to the vending machine half of the places. So it's like, my God, right? I can't take this any longer, right? I saw my son. He's good. I hugged him. I gave him many kisses. And now I have to leave because it's so painful for me because I'm in a situation where I have absolutely no control. My own child, I have no control of him. He isn't my child anymore. He's property of the state. He is a number. And I can't digest that. I can't, mentally, it just works on me. Now, I don't want to get into, the visit with my husband because, we know I did time with my husband. But that time is different with your child. With my husband, I look forward to it. I couldn't wait to get there, and 8 hours was not enough. We talked, we held hands, we just talked. But my son, within an hour and a half, I wanted to run for the door. I couldn't see. I couldn't look in his eyes. I couldn't see the hurt. I could see. I could feel. You know what I mean? So I don't understand. I know as a mother, that is a very painful situation. People don't talk about it, but it is the visits are very different. So with you, did you experience some of that, Niroma?
Yes. Like, I get real irritable and itchy being there for hours, because my daughter takes me and being there for hours. But what lately I have learned to do, we play cards, to get to talk. I ask him, is he okay? Nobody messing with him. I start asking him as if he was young again, And he looked good this last time I seen him. I said, you lifting weights, And I always tell him to stay in prayer. But yes, it's painful to even when I get ready to come in there. I'm excited because a lot of times I'm surprised when you don't know I'm coming. But just going through that process is a painful situation because they don't even treat us good.
What are some of the things that are hard for you to do for your son that he just doesn't understand and it kind of irks you? But you gotta go through it.
The money, like sending him when he wants, it feels like somebody wants you snapped to their fingers or whatever. And I don't want to tell my son no about anything, but I let him know if I'm struggling or I could do it, or not. My daughter helps him too. He gets help from other places, thank God. Packages, my daughter does that. I do what I can. I've been holding some cans for him for the longest, and he didn't get it yet because he already getting packages, but when he calls with that, could you do this? Like, it's not like I have money all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean that is something that we don't, and when I say we, I'm talking from, the inmate perspective. That's something sometimes that we lose focus of, that we don't focus or think about how hard it is for you out there, to send us packages or even to put money on the phone for us to call home. We just expect you to do it. It's like, I'm hungry, I need a package, I'm gonna call home and have mom send me a package, or I'm gonna have my wife send me a package. And I used to do that. I used to be like, hey, listen, I'm hungry, can you bring me a package this weekend? And I don't think that, Arlene may have to say, okay, because packages aren't cheap, right? Food packages especially, can be very expensive, anywhere from $100 to $200 to get a 35-pound package.
Mm-hmm.
And, so now she has to say, okay, if I'm going to spend $150, that's probably a bill that I'm not going to be able to pay because now I'm getting him a package. But I'm not thinking that. I'm just thinking she's going to go to the store, get me a package, and that's that. Not realizing that she may have to rearrange some bills and stuff like that. And, sometimes I know that she probably wanted to say no, but she probably said, you know what, I know he's not really getting quality food in there, so I have to make sure that he eats. So I know there were times where she probably had to not pay a bill to make sure that I got food. And I didn't really understand that until I came home and realized, that it's hard out here. And, we just don't have it like that to just, like you said, when they snap their fingers, just, okay, I'm going to send you a package tomorrow. Or, okay, I'm going to put money on the phone today. It's not that easy. But it's sad to say that when we're in there, we just don't focus on stuff like that, because we just feel that you have it like that,
Right. That is a part of doing the time because it's like you have to sacrifice your everyday living for what you want to do or had to do in order to do for your loved one.
So like putting money on the phone, sending them packages, writing letters. I mean, outside of prison, writing your son. When was the last time you wrote a letter? Put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, and put it in the mailbox.
Now it's JPay, so I send him a message every now and again. I'm praying you're okay. I'm okay. Just to let him know that I'm okay.
And just for people who don't know what JPay is a system now that the New York State Correctional Facility has where we can actually email or send email to inmates. So we don't have to necessarily just communicate with, letters, snail mail as they call it now, but we can actually email them and get the emails.
And they also can get videos.
Yes, they can get videos and pictures. We can send them videos and pictures through that email service. Yeah.
So it's a great service as far as I'm concerned, because right now we live in a totally different state. So we're in Georgia and, the son is in New York. So when Ali and I are out, sometimes just so he'll get a visual of what we're going. We give him quick videos. Hey, we're downtown. This is we're in front of this. Hey, shout out. We send him whatever. If we're on the set filming, we might show him a little snippet or that. We get together. So this helps him mentally to see what's going on in the outside world, see what we're up to, and that kind of lifts his spirit. So JPay, to me, my God, it came along at the perfect time. You know, before, like you said, that writing that letters and stuff, I wasn't that great with it with my son either. You know what I mean? But sending him a quick text to check in on him, I find that I could do that 2 times, 3 times a day, and I'm good. So, yeah, so it is very different.
Yeah, I like it because my daughter just made videos. My grandchildren's over here. His 2 sons is over here. So, you know, she made videos and she sent them. I'm not good with the videos, but I'm going to start doing them so I can send them some. It's your mom, and I'm okay, and make them laugh. I'm going to do them a little, might do a little comment because you know how they bragging in. Yeah, my mother's a comedian, and
That's
he's
right.
been to my shows before when I did it in Manhattan. So, you know, he would appreciate that. So I'm glad that we're talking about this. So it keeps me on my toes.
That's right. Give them something to brag about.
That's right.
Look at my mom.
That's
you know
right.
What I mean? And who knows? You know, he may show it to a guy that's going through something, and he may hear you with your comedy, and it may brighten his day.
Right. Because I know moms maybe used to go to the prison and do shows for the guys, and they used to be cracking up.
As far as people go, do you tell them the truth of where your son is? Or do you lie and say like he's away at school or, you know, he's away in the army? Or is it like a mixture of both? Some people you'll tell the truth to, some people...
No, I tell everybody the truth. I used to get upset. I was telling Arlene, I used to get upset when they asked me how much time he has. That is the part that used to hurt and hit me to the core because I had to say it. And I didn't really want to say it. And some people I didn't say it to. I just said he's incarcerated. But most of the people, you know, at my network and people, I tell them that what he has, the time he has. And some people, maybe they forgot, maybe they didn't, and I have to repeat it, you know?
Well, I know for me, my father, he straight up lied to everybody. Even family members who knew where I was, he would still lie. And they will say, no, he's in prison. He'll say, no, he's not in prison. He's away at school. And they'd be like, come on, Percy. You know, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's in school. He was in that much denial, or but not only denial, but just shame of where I was, that everybody he came into contact with, he would tell them that I was away at school. And the question I always asked him was, okay, Dad, I've been in prison for about 15 years now. You still telling them that I'm away at school? He used to say, yep, you away at school. And he stuck with that. No matter how absurd it sounded, he stuck with that. And it was because of the shame that he felt of, you know, he knew that he didn't bring me up that way. And he could never say it from his lips that his son was in prison doing time. So he would always go with the story of he's away at school. So, I mean, you know, and some people are like that. Like you don't have a problem telling people the truth. I know Arlene doesn't have a problem, right? I
did have a problem. It depends. And I have to say that I did lie to people back then when it, you know, my son, with my job, I definitely never mentioned it. You know, I never said anything about my son. You know, and it was easy for me to do because we didn't have the same last name. So I did a lot of covering up on my job because I knew I was going to be judged because I was the minority on my job at the state at that time. And I was already being mistreated as a person of color. So it's no way in this world I was going to let them know that my son has been sent upstate with a felony. You know, no way. So I did lie about that, you know, And now that I've healed, I will tell you my son is upstate. I don't have a problem right now, But back then, yes, I did lie. I guess I didn't lie, but I wouldn't answer one way or the other because no one would approach me with it. No one. I had a few people on the job that knew me personally. They knew, but it was never a conversation on that job. And like you said with the time thing, that to this day has always been an issue with me. I don't know what it is. I guess in that perspective, I'm in denial. I have not worked through that yet, because it's like I don't want, if I say how much time he has, then I'm saying that I'm good with it. I'm not good with my son doing a life bid at all. Anything with a life after it means you might get life in prison. I don't care if it's 15 to life. I don't care if it's 25 to life. I don't care if 10 to life. They can keep you for the rest of your life. That's at the end of your bid. So I don't want to talk about that. But now with a platform, around people that's experiencing the same thing I am, I have no problem because that's my support system. They're not going to judge me. And that's when I let my guards down. And that's what this is about for me. It's a healing process for all those that are going through this painful journey.
This support system is excellent and very good for people who are causing harm to themselves or depressed, and because their loved one is doing a lot of time. This is very supportive because you get to share whatever you want to share when it comes down to that, and it will help you to heal. And support systems in general, especially on podcasts, we got COVID out here, so the podcast is good. We can't go sit in a room with a bunch of people and share like we used to, because I'm in recovery, so everything is online now. So thank God for the podcast, and you're doing it verbally, which is, you don't have to sit down and read a bunch of stuff unless you want to, but you verbally actually hearing people share their experience, strength, and hope with you.
Right, and all this in hopes that people will connect and no longer have to suffer in silence.
Yes.
This platform we created here is to help those that need support, to help those that don't no longer want to suffer in silence, and to release some of that extra baggage that we carry around from day to day.
Because like I said, it caused me to overeat, and that was like years of doing that, until I came out of denial about what I was doing to my body, because I was in so much pain and causing unhealthiness and more pain. So this can help others, because I know it's other people out there that's going through it, and they're doing all kinds of stuff. They might be drinking, drugging, sleeping around, causing people harm, just not to feel the real pain that they feel.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right. Okay. Cool. Well, listen, it was definitely nice hearing your voice.
Yes.
Because I know me personally, I haven't spoken with you in a while, but I know Arlene talks to you. And we do communicate, but it's mostly over like Facebook Messenger and stuff like that, But definitely good hearing your voice. I'm glad that you're still holding on, that you're still going strong.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you both. And Ali, I enjoyed your story, the first podcast. Oh my gosh, I sat there and I walked through the journey with you and Arlene, and it's such a blessing. You're both is God's blessing, and to connect like that. And I'm so glad you stuck by her and she stuck by you, and I appreciate your bond even more today. Y'all both my sister and brother, and I love it. And I love the way God connects the dots.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you. And sister, keep trooping. Keep trooping until your loved one come home.
You too. And I will be there for you, and I'm here for you anyway, but I'll be there for you the day your son gets out, and I'll let you know, my son. And it would be such a blessing. Like, yeah, COVID to be over with, we'd be partying hardy. Look.
Yeah. All right, sis. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you both, and thank you. And I'll talk to you soon, okay? All right.
All right.
Have
Thank
a
you.
blessed day.
All right.
Thank you.
Before we go, I would like to read a quote that I came across recently that speaks volumes. When your heart is breaking for someone who is broken, but your words can't reach them and your love can't save them, ask the angels to go where you cannot, to whisper into their heart what their ears can't hear. We will not give up on you. Don't give up on yourself.
Yeah, that was deep. That's definitely a deep saying right there. So there's basically nothing to say after that. So for anyone who is listening to our podcast, if you want to contact us, if you want to reach out, you can reach out on our Facebook page, which is Support for Prison Families. You can reach out on there, and either Arlene or myself will reach back out to you. And we just hope that you continue listening, because we're coming out with a weekly episode. You know, continue listening to the podcast and continue supporting the podcast. And the best way that you can help us out is to share the podcast. Share it to as many people as you feel need to hear this.
That's right. Share, and then share. You never know who may be needing help from others to help them through their journey.
So with that said, this is Ali Brathwaite.
Arlene Brathwaite.
And we will see you next week.
Yep.